Okey, kita dah boleh mula. Dr. Azhar, Dr. K. Fairul, okey?
That's mine.
Okey.
Okey, kita tanpa membuang masa, kita akan mulalah. Okey, Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Selamat datang ke sesi webinar Kajian Semula Standard Program Creative Multimedia Technology yang dulunya dikenali sebagai Creative Multimedia sahaja. Sesi ini terbuka kepada semua PPT, agensi kerajaan, kementerian yang berkaitan, ahli panel penilai yang berkaitan, orang awam dan juga pelajar. Tujuan kajian semula standard ini adalah untuk menilai dan menambah baik dokumen selaras dengan keperluan semasa, bidang dan industri, dan juga untuk meningkatkan kualiti program sejajar dengan keperluan minimum program yang ditawarkan. Sehubungan itu, saya ingin memperkenalkan panel pembangunan bagi standard program ini, iaitu panel yang pertama, pengerusi kita iaitu Profesor Madhi Dr. Azhar Haji Abdul Jamil, dan juga panel yang kedua, Timbalan Pengerusi Profesor Madhi Dr. Khairul Azri Ismail. Dan tanpa membuang masa, kami akan mainkan video pengenalan Creative Multimedia Technology dan selanjutnya penerangan akan dimulakan dengan Dr. Azhar. Silakan.
Okey, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terutama sekali saya ucapkan jutaan terima kasih khususnya pada pihak MQA dalam menganjurkan program bersama dengan panel-panel penilai serta wakil-wakil daripada HCP ataupun PPT seluruh negara, IPTA dan IPTS. Dan juga saya ambil kesempatan ini untuk mengucapkan jutaan terima kasih juga kepada panel-panel yang terlibat, khususnya panel yang terlibat secara khusus dalam jawatan kuasa semakan dan penilaian pembaruan program standard baru Creative Multimedia Technology. Dan sebelum kita mulakan kita punya presentation on the standard program baru ataupun edisi yang kedua, we would like to share one video clip that has been done by Dr. Khairul Azri. Dr. Khairul Azril, yeah. And the team and the entire team from Creative Multimedia Technology on the directions of this creative program ataupun Creative Multimedia Technology program. Dan kita share screen on the video, please. Thank you.
Even before the pandemic begins, there was already high growth and adoption in education technology, with global edu-tech investments reaching $18.66 billion in 2019, and the overall market for online education projected to reach $350 billion by 2025. Which such great expectations of technology investment, this goes beyond geographical boundaries for all to share and utilize however all could in observed needs. Whether it is of language apps, virtual tutoring, video conferencing tools, or online learning management systems, there has been a significant surge in usage since the pandemic started. This had tremendously affected the manner of communication, the mode and influence of engagements with the stakeholders, in the process of evaluating the needs, the essential, and the hope for the future. The fundamental built and the vision of the MQA maintains in response to significant demand, in all manner of considerations towards the quality, and being relevant towards the current needs for the higher education providers. Our current education system is built on the Industrial Revolution model, which focuses on the conventional mode of memorization and standardization. However, it has always been a continuous effort by all education providers to update the education delivery for the graduates for job readiness, the ability to adapt and adopt the current smart machines, with the creation of long-term economic value in mind. New hybrid models of education are still emerging, with significant benefits with the integration of information technology. The creative content in education will be further accelerated, and that online education, which will eventually become an integral component of all aspects in the management in education. With various collective methods of disruptive technologies, from available applied hardware to the content in multitude forms from artificial intelligence, cloud, IoT, big data, and blockchain, which had influenced the mode of delivery exponentially. The Creative Multimedia Program Standards was first enforced by the MQA in 2012. It serves as a reference for the higher education providers in developing and offering programs within 9 multimedia disciplinary areas. Then, this had been observed to evolved, naturally, with various growth of mass usage of Internet resources through the World Wide Web and influences from various innovations from the industrial platforms. When this was looked into by the elected panel task force, arriving from the public and private universities, and the industry, they had gathered numerous comparisons on the needs of the affected stakeholders from the government and non-governmental agencies, the industries, educators, and student alumni. We had considered the needed update in the present bodies of knowledge in the present, and the considered potentials that may arrive in the near future. Since this document's inception, now it is over 399 programs had been registered in the MQR and growing. What has been made clear through this pandemic is the importance of disseminating knowledge across borders, and all parts of society. As online learning technology can play a role here, it is incumbent upon all of us to explore its full and uncharted areas of potentials of the graduates will bring. We had looked into the update in the number of graduates, employed and certainly, of the unemployed arriving from the recent tracer studies of 2019. We would expect the urgent need for immediate changes to occur with much greater urgency as the agent of change, especially when the education sector had been affected. On the basic principle of this recent revision, the panel had confirmed the additional word, technology, in Creative Multimedia Program Standard, which refers to the study of principles, methods, and the current tools arrived from various scientific findings utilized for practical purposes, and to stimulate development in various areas of society, economy, and certainly for education. The word technology is in alignment with the current industrial revolution phases and future development, which observes technology-based professions that cut across various disciplines based from conceptual design to materialized technology that inspects and aspires to professional integrated roles as a technologically based design specialist. The panel had met various stakeholders, in response to all the update and revisions occurred in all of the 7 domain areas of this document. Thank you for your time, and let's begin by introducing 2 of our represented task force members. They will be presenting the executive summary on the revisions made on the document, since it began in November of 2020. Associate Professor Technologist Dr. Azhar Abdul Jamil from UITM. And Assistant Professor Technologist Dr. K. Azrael Ismail from the UCSI University. Thank you for your kind attention of this introduction. Let us begin with the presentation.
To us. We can begin on the presentation itself. Let's share the screen over here.
You have to open up the file first. The keynote. Kita sudah tutup.
Now we are on the share screen.
Okey, terima kasih semua. Again, Okey, saya nak memperkenalkan beberapa panel yang terlibat di dalam semakan ataupun program standard revision for Creative Multimedia Technology. Saya nak ucapkan jutaan terima kasih kepada panel, iaitu Profesor Dr. Neo ataupun Prof Ken daripada MMU, and we have Dr. Pauline from Taylor's, and Prof TS Dr. Khairul Azril from UCSI, Assistant Professor Khairul Hazrin, and Mr. Lin Yu.
Let me just re-share balik. Maaf ya. It's a bit
Sorry.
Okay.
More. Okay, tak apa. I think it's okay.
Okay, I think we can make this.
We have Assistant Professor Khairul Hazrin, Hashim, and we have Mr. Lin Yu from the One Academy. We have a panel of daripada industri, Cik Zul, Amiruddin daripada Blind Spot, Puan Umar Hani daripada College Community Selayang, and also terima kasih to our Secretariat of MQA, Cik Azwar, Zani Abdul Hamid, selama lebih kurang setahun. We have conduct our meeting, discuss about the areas of each area, looking for the betterment of the standard. So basically, the standard of this creative multimedia technology on the area that we have looked into is basically from area 1 right to area 2, area 3 student selections, area 4 staff academician ataupun academic staff, area 5 on the educational resources, area 6 on the program management, and area 7 looking into the program monitoring. Basically, the standard of creative multimedia, nama asalnya adalah creative multimedia, but with the consensus from the panel and also expert field from the industry and also from PPT ataupun HEP, kita merasakan the technology need to be the main ataupun the emphasis for this creative multimedia technology. So as we can see here, basically it divided into 3 area ataupun principle which require the creativity ataupun the creative side. On the second one, looking into the multimedia, and the third one looking into the technology base. So the development ataupun the changes in the new standard, we are more concerned on these 3 areas. So basically, when this program standard can also be applied to all ataupun cross the board, not just in creative multimedia, but also in other related program ataupun relevant program. It can be from art and design, it can be from the performing arts, it can be from any program that require ataupun ada program baru yang nak dibangunkan menerusi ataupun menggunakan program standard ini yang berpandukan kepada creativity, multimedia and technology. So these are the emphasis. Over to you, Dr. Azril, looking into the discipline on this area.
Dr. Azhar. As how Dr. Azhar had already mentioned and presented, this is certainly an update on the much needed attention towards the program standard creative multimedia, in which we had an add-on as well into the world of technology. With this comes as a much more growth into it, and actually we had updated in terms of the disciplinary track that was founded in the older document, and right now with this recent update, we can see that the movement of advertising that turns to intermedia advertising, animation and visual effects, or in turn we simplify it as animation, sound design, we turn it around to stated as sonic and audio design, video and films goes into the ways of cinematics, where else the game development remains the same, of course, but certainly the exciting part about it is upcoming later. For the interactive media, we have immersive and interactive media. For virtual reality, of course, it's in the simulator of extended family of extended reality, in which it goes into separation of spatial design, simulation design, digital art and design, so that it's not too overly confused with the program standards of arts and design. Certainly, we have under the consideration of new media art, and then with the additional factor towards it, and much needed, I think, facilitation towards digital content creation, which is education technology. This is a wonderful thing because it can apply across like literally any faculties can adopt this program standard, and actually in the co-creation of the digital content that's within it. And of course, we have web and mobile content design. So pretty much these are the new established recognized field in which is going to be the fundamental areas of the disciplinary tracks within this program standard.
I think we need to do something on the screen because it is.
No, I think as well, it's
okay. We receive a message, pop-up message.
Oh, is it blurrish? Okay. Okay, let me try to reshare this again. I think there is a concern of the screen being blurrish. Let me stop sharing and reshare. It could be the mode of sharing optimized, I guess. All right. I think it's much more clear.
We need to select the screen.
Okay. Stop sharing on this. Let's reshare again.
Okay, that's better, I think.
I think that's better. Thank you. Thank you, audience, for the given note. I was a bit concerned just now on the of it. So hopefully, thank you everyone for the given note. So sometimes when we optimize things are not not entirely optimal. Okay, this disciplinary tracks, which can be found within the recently updated and endorsed by the MQA. As of recent, of all these disciplinary tracks, from intermediate advertising all the way down to web and mobile content design. So in hope for the next following slide. Of course, with this updates from the previous program standard, it's a rather simple thing. I mean, like, of course, we needs to follow through the seminal areas for the MQF 2.0, in which we have to update in terms of the PO and PLO accordingly, in which all the domains are being updated of all the areas that we see here, and all the domains that in the MQF second edition we had given examples in terms on how and which areas of hit, but certainly the HEPs are able to adopt and actually manage to see what kind of verbs that is being utilized within their PEO, PLO, and in sequence towards it, the CLO within their said proposed program. These are commonly recommended, but certainly under advisory in terms of all the HEP. PO1 covers from the areas of knowledge all the way to practical skill. PO2, interpersonal skill, all the way up to the leadership. PO3, digital skills and personal skills, all the way up towards that. PO4, and of course, you have entrepreneurship skills and ethics and professionalism. But of course, all of this must be respectfully applied towards which kind of Bloom's taxonomy verbs that is being utilized. It's being given an example, as you see here in terms of the slides, from the certificate level all the way to the doctoral degree, in which the verbs of the Bloom's taxonomy goes higher and higher as it goes along, and it also directively would affect your forms of assessment towards the said student. So that's a given note towards that. So now here's the interesting fun part about the this newfound or recent things of an update, which is the body of knowledge. Now the body of knowledge within this particular program standard is an interesting bit here. It is quite new, but give and take, as much as it is new, it's actually conforming to the flexibility that is being applied towards how the BOK are to be mapped. So the present need, now the thing about the BOK here is pretty much more like a buffet style, as an open table, because we recognize all the areas for the creative multimedia technology it's almost at ad infinitum in terms of its combination of things. But the BOK mapping must actually answers to all these factors. The present need of the current and future industry requirements, the mapping of the PLO that is being proposed, also in fact the PO, the level of the program offered by and offered through the quality of the MQF level, respectfully, the HEP's infrastructure, the manpower or the specialists that they have, and the unique selling point of the HEP. This is all in celebrate towards the idea that no two programs may be alike. So reason being here is like, of course, for example, you take bachelor's of animation from X university, it certainly is going to be different from with the other university because of the infrastructure, because of their ambition towards a PO and PLO, and also the specialists that they have, everything. So the body of knowledge are now open and it is interdependent and customizable with all the mentioned factors that has been stated before this. So the components that you can see here, you can see on how the areas is. This is just an example, but not absolutely the case that all HEP are to follow this one through. This is for animation. We can see on the right side where you have the foundation or the common core subject, which is arts design. Of course, you have the MPU subjects that is needed by the respectful universities. And then the updated version of the BOK, you can see on the right side of this, which is arts and design, aesthetics, and then the required disciplinary core, in which you can see on the left side, and also updated version on the right side, and so forth. The combination of the BOK is being listed in this said document, in which you can find, I think, 50 over, and certainly the list is not limited towards that. So it's an open area in which you can actually discover better. For this particular curriculum design and delivery, I leave it to Dr. Azhas in good hands. He's a better person to map out for this. Thank you.
On the context of the BOK, I'd just like to add in a few points. Basically, the reason why we proposed a buffet style, meaning when we compare the previous standard that we have, basically the standard require a specific subjects for a specific program. So for the BOK that we have mapped out, or we have proposed that we should have a freedom, or shall I say, the buffet style of picking up the most specific area that map to the courses or map to the programs that been offered or that been designed from the programs or from the PPT, from the HEP that they wanted to have, is basically they need to set the BOK first of the or shall I say the program outcome of what they want. Okay, so meaning when we look into when we look into the structures that we have developed, basically there are two components into the fundamentals and the study of the common core, and the most important thing is to look into the requirement of the discipline or the core area that been set by the standards or the program outcomes that have been designed by the HEP. So it is somehow give more freedom or more option actually for PPT or HEP to look into the specific area that they want to develop or the programs that they want to offer. So another thing, when as a sample here, we can see that there are the current BOK and the update of BOK that we have for the animation. Basically, you can see the different category or the different BOK that been set for that specific program. Okay, thank you, Dr. Azril. And for the curriculum design and delivery, basically across the board, we're looking into the level of certificate, diploma, bachelor for single major, bachelor degree for specialization, and bachelor degree for major minor. So basically, when we table out the previous standard, it require compulsory courses that given a ratio or range, in which indicate on the table with the yellow color text, we can see the previous standard indicate the requirements that the HEP need to fulfill. So basically, the previous standard required 9 to 12. The difference between the previous standard and the current standard that we have here, basically we give more option to HEP, whether we did not set the range for the standard or delivery of the design. For the creative design, we map out and we put it a very minimum credit that require for that particular level and that particular component courses. For example, if you look at the compulsory courses, the minimum credit for certificate is 4, the diploma level is 6, bachelor degree for single major is 8. So it is up to the PPT or HEP to decide. Some university would like to have a very, what shall I say, the load of this credit up to 12 and even 15. But the requirements for this particular standard for bachelor program, compulsory courses which only require 8 credit minimum. And it goes as well the same as bachelor degree specializations and bachelor degree for major minor. And not to forget, for the bachelor degree for double major, it is also require the minimums of 8 credit. You can see even the ratio for the core components for this level of the previous program standard, which also require the minimums of 12 to 18. But and throughout the diploma program level, it is required to have 18 to 25, and bachelor degree level is up to 26 to 30 credit. So for this new standard for Creative Multimedia Technology, we have said and we have a debate, argument, discussion, not just within the panel, but also we have discussed with our stakeholder from various HEP. And I will not mention the names of the institution. Basically, we have decided the minimum credit for level or for the component courses for core, for certificate is 45, for diploma is 59, bachelor degree 66, and throughout bachelor degree specializations and also major minor. And it goes the same as the bachelor degree for double major when we look at it. The core components for the single major or the first major, which requires 66, but the options for major 2, it gives some, it somehow gives an option for the second major, the minimum, or it reflects or it refers back to the program standards that require that specific program. If it is minimum of 40, meaning the program standard is 40, but it is also differ back to the program standard of what major or the second major that the HEP plan to have. And for the specialization, as you can go at the previous range of credit that we have from previous standard, which require 29 to 36. And for diploma program is 44 to 48, and for bachelor degree single major 50 to 60. And for this, it is reflect back to the components of core that you have or the HEP plan to have for their program. But on the context of the bachelor degree for specializations, the minimum credit that we require or we have agreed is to have 30 credit for specialization. Throughout the total numbers or the total amount or subtotal credit that we have from the certificate, diploma, bachelor degree, bachelor degree single major, it's also indicate the subtotal of credit is basically 49 for certificate, 65 for diploma, and 80 for a single major, and so on for bachelor degree specialization is 110. But the most interesting here, whereby the bit of remaining credit that you have, basically the one that indicate the orange in color, that we have 11 remaining credits for certificate, 25 credit for diploma, 40 credits for bachelor degree single major, and 10 credit for both specializations and major and minor. It is all up to the institutions or up to the HEP to decide or to whether to put the remaining credit to any compulsory, any component courses that they want. If they plan to have more on the core subjects or the core component, they can have this remaining credit to be distributed into these core components, or otherwise can also apply into other components such as compulsory courses and perhaps electives as well. So basically, looking into this table, I think what we feel that these new standard or the new structures that we have for the curriculum design and delivery component, putting that the numbers of the minimums that require for each level, it will somehow give an options for HEP to design the curriculum more flexible and more fluid into offering courses that could have as such as compulsory courses, a common core for throughout the university or even the program as well. Okay, and we move on to the programs postgraduate level. In this program for postgraduate level, the range is only apply on the coursework for master's degree, where we can see the one that we have before. The previous standard require 18 to 20 for the disciplinary core, but the new requirement for the discipline core, it require 20 to 30 for coursework. The best part in this coursework and mixed mode, you can see the difference between the discipline area or the discipline credit that you should have. It indicate the core components of core coursework between 10 to 18 and 28 credit for mixed mode. The indications of whether or not to choose the discipline area is a fix. It is between 20 to 30. But the components of the project report, dissertation, thesis, it given an option to HEP to choose or to design the curriculum, or to have that option for the student to choose whether to do project report, dissertation, or thesis, or to have exegesis and creative output within the range of credit that has been set, shows on the table. So the new credit that been applied or that been set for this particular standard is basically the emphasis is to show that when the student choose the creative output, meaning the core components of that specializations or that exegesis creative output, it is really core into that particular program or that particular specialization that they choose. On the other hand, looking into the master's degree research mode, this is there's nothing much change on this. It is basically the same as before. And for doctoral degree mixed mode, we have indicate the minimum credit of that particular discipline on the 24 credit for core discipline, and for the core component that can be designed or developed by the HEP that require 56 credit, and up looking into the credits graduates for master's degree is 40, for doctoral degree for mixed mode is 80 credit. Okay, over to you, Dr. Azrael, on the assessments of the student learning.
Thank you, Dr. Azhar. Okay, as how Dr. Azhar mentioned, in terms of the layout of all the credits, the most important part, besides all of these are joined in together, is just almost like a sequence of things, so that we see body of knowledge and then we see the distribution towards the credits and the flexibility that is being latitude and given out. So then these are actually, you can see here in terms of the area 2, it goes into the areas of how we assess the students. Now we can see here that from certificate all the way to degree level, the limited listed documents, we had add in more in terms of how we are able to assess the students. We can see the additional FOA or form of assessment from assignment all the way down in terms of virtual. By all means, I mean, like the pandemic had certainly taught us quite a numbered bit in terms on how to do up virtual online assessment, and also submission of work that is certainly in a digital content or digital form. So it's not limited as well. It can be synchronous, it can be asynchronous, depending on how things are being formulated or assessment. So time and space is actually being considered in terms on how things are being presented. Of course, this goes all the way up to every level that you can see here, from the certificate or the undergraduate level all the way to the postgraduate level. You can see in terms on how all of the assessment is being made. Of course, we can see on the right side that particular bar or the orange bit is actually more or less or the highlight of something that is newer. Of course, the list is certainly not limited to, but we have exegesis and creative output, which has been adopted from the Arts and Design Program Standard, in which is more of a format of a postgraduate level in terms on how the creative output and also the writing component goes hand in hand in parallel conjoint areas. And of course, we have the virtual online assessment, expert-based assessment that arrive from the industry. Simulation can be part of the assessment. Online, virtual, conventional graduate exhibitions are certainly the highlight towards the form of assessment. So moving along, so we have here in terms on the student selection. Now, student selection, of course, you can see inside the document to read out every single one of it. Of course, all of this comes as a relevancy in terms of how the students are able to adapt and adopt towards your particular given program. Of course, the highlight of this as well, I mean, of course, this must follow tentatively towards the requirement that's being stipulated by MQA. And of course, it's how we assess the student that are to arrive into your program. Interviews can be done. It doesn't have to be the conventional ways of face-to-face as we know it as well. It can be done as online. It can be wherever remotely as possible, or actually portfolio submission that is, you can see the body of knowledge that is appropriated towards that level of the program. Let's say, for example, that you are admitting students on bachelor's degree. Certainly, you need to assess the student's body of knowledge of their diploma portfolio. So you see the attainment that the students have, and then you have your own sets of a design review or some sort of rubrics that comes along with it, which is an important bit right there. Of course, the same as well for a master's degree and doctoral degree. This is not an option, but you need two components, which is the interview, in which you need to have your own sets of rubrics, and then you have portfolio submission also, because this one actually must be both side, and also research proposal that is needed to be part and parcel of it for research and mixed mode only for the postgraduate level. So these are the particular requirement you can see here in terms of the requirement for master's level degree, CGPA 2.0. Rigorous assessment, what is sort of rigorous assessment is entirely on the HEP's design in terms of what kind of rigorous assessment that they have, whether or not through the interview, through documentations of the said student. Okay, so moving along. Now, for international students that is arriving to the doors of the HEP, all of this are actually, so we actually ascertain a bit more specific what does it mean, because in terms on MUET contains like a whole lot of ranges of things. So now that we actually are determined to what are the entry requirement for international students. So of course, before this, we just simply, it was being mentioned, diploma level, MUET Band 2, but you can see here Band 2 contains like two sorts of readings. So which are the ones that we determine of which band of minimum requirement students. So for diploma, MUET Band 2, CEFR mid B1, in which you can see over the bar here, it's a mid B1. You can see then CEFR mid B1, which is IELT equivalent to IELTS 4.5, TOEFL IBT 35, and so forth. So all of these already are predetermined from for diploma, bachelor's degree, master's degree, and doctoral degree. So all the way up, in which the requirements are stated as follows. So these are for the international students per se. Okay, now a bit more specific, qualification of academic staff. Now, of course, it's a whole range of things. The qualification for academic staff, we always believe in the principle is just one level higher. So that one remains the same, but give and take, we took into the consideration of not just simply about related field, but it must be relevant field. Now, of course, we're talking about a very specific term, So what is relevant field itself? That means that there is within the disciplinary body of knowledge track of the said academician. So of course, over here, we can see here from the certificate all the way to bachelor's degree, that is always one level higher. But those that similar level, of course, it's being stipulated with X amount of years of industry experience and engagement. Now, these two are very important, significant role. It's not just industry experience, industry engagement are coming into consideration as well. So of course, the ratio of the academic staff has been ascertained. Academic staff to the student ratio for practical courses are at 1:15, and for theory-based courses, which is either conventional or blended learning, either or, the academic staff to student ratio is 1:30. So at least by principle of it, 60% of the academic staff must be full-timer engaged to the HEP. Part-timer can be as well, being consists of the industry practitioner or academia. Of course, on this project supervisory, this is particularly for the students FYP, which must be at the very most is 1:15. So all of this is being given within the said documentation itself. Of course, we highly encourage for the HEP to appoint industry practitioner to be as the project co-supervisor, because from there you can actually see a real life world situation on their assessment. Of course, it goes up to the master's degree. You can see here, we separated for the teaching staff, which is for the taught courses, particularly for the coursework or the mixed mode. Some components of it are having class component. That's the minimum requirement for the teaching staff. And certainly we separated that teaching staff and for principal supervisor and co-supervisor. So all of this comes into by definition on what is the requirement on the said staff. So all of this within the said documentation itself. So for the teaching staff and principal supervisor, the by far, I mean, like the supervisory role is 1 to 7. Principal supervisor, it doesn't matter that if it's that X amount of students is master's level, X amount of students PhD level. By far, it's maximum to 7. That is the practicality of it, so that we can ascertain in terms on the quality that comes from this. And of course, the supervisors must undergo a structured supervisory training nonetheless. So this may be, and co-supervisors may be as well, be appointed from the industry that's subjected to the university's approval by the HPA's Senate or Board of Governance. So coming back to this, we move on to area 5, in which Dr. Azhar can actually brief on the facilities.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Azhar. Okay, on this area, educational area 5, looking into the educational resources, basically we list out all the specific items or recommendations should be made towards the design of the program. It's not so meaning these are the listing of facilities or equipment or even resources. We shall put it as resources that needed for the programs that been developed by HEP. So the compulsory component that we can see here, basically, especially on the sufficient qualifications or the computer printers and internet access, I think there is no problems into providing these facilities. Basically, it refer back to the programs that the HEP plan to have. And the working space or the workstations with access of internet, the ratios of computer station with student, right? So everything is listed in the program standard, and even the requirements of the standard also require that the HEP need to provide galleries, exhibition space, equipments, and many more. You can see there are resources that we have put it all in the list for the betterment of the programs, or even it should support the programs that have been offered by the HEP. Okay. Okay, on the criteria on selections of the program leader, again, we have discussed this not just from the panel, but we have also do a survey. We have looked into samples of various HEP or university We have looked into the requirements of the best suitable for candidates to be appointed as the program leader, right from the certificate programs right to the doctoral degree. Basically, if you look into the minimum requirement for certificate, basically it is basically throughout the program, or the program leader need to have one step level up higher of qualification. Basically for certificate, it is to have bachelor degree, 2 years academic experience, whether in the academic area or whether it is from whether they have the engagement with industry. And also we also accepted the candidates with diploma certification or diploma level, which relevant to the area or relevant to the field, with 5 years academic experience, again with industry experience or industry engagement in related to the program. Basically, when look into the program criteria for program leader for diploma, bachelor, again, it is require the most important thing here is basically the experience of 5 years for diploma, and for bachelor degree with master's degree, 3 years academic degree or experience with again engagement with relevant field. For master's degree, previously we in the standard mentioning that it is best to have a doctoral degree, but for the new standard for program leader, the doctoral degree in relevant field with 3 years academic industry experience and also industry engagement. For doctoral degree again, with 5 years academic experience, with whether with the industry or with the industry engagement. As for the area 7, looking into the program monitoring, review, and continual quality and improvement. Basically, this is what the MQ have provide the best practice on whether it is COPA, whether it's COPIA, and so on. The most important thing for panel of MTA, it is now we are require every panel to look into not just their or the HEP report on their self-review report, but also we are concerned looking into how the best practice, looking into the payments of CLO, PLO, and even PEO of each courses and program, and so that the HEP can map and look into the achievements or attainments of CLO of each courses and map into the PLO, and what are the action taken by the HEP looking into the betterments for the program of upcoming new program even, and to sustain the requirements or the needs from the future graduates that we develop, and the requirement needed from the stakeholder or the industry. Okay, I think that will be all for today, our session. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much also to all the panel of assessor and also panels of the task force looking into the program standard of Creative Multimedia Technology again. And I think over to MQA, we have sessions with question and answer. Okay, thank you. Any words from Dr. Azil? Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
So much, Dr. Azil. I think this sums it up. I mean, like the documentation is very, very long. So, I mean, like for us to get intricate, nitty-gritty detail, at least half a day. So, give and take, what you have here is more of an auto summary, and I do conclude the same way as well as how Dr. Azhar had mentioned. Please do remember, in terms of the good governance practice, to ask all the affected stakeholders, students, alumni, the community that you are possibly engaged with, the industry, particularly industry, because this is industry-driven sort of way orientation or the SAID program, because certainly the upcoming future, that you got to be on your toes, pretty much. The job scope is varied, and fundamentally that we're still in the stage of finding out what is upcoming for our near future. So with this, then I think, thank you so much for the given opportunity to work alongside with MQA, and also it's a wonderful for the past 1 year to work alongside with this fantastic colleague. We had arguments, debates, but all in a good ambition and practice towards changes, towards needed changes, and certainly consideration all the affected parties, the governance, and also the towards the betterment for our program. So pretty much that will be from my side. Thank you so much, and we would open up to the Q&A session, or back to MQA as well. So I think you muted, so it's all. Isn't it? Let me see on this side.
We look into the chat box. So
The chat box that we can see in terms of the Q&A. Is there anyone with us? Still, okay, let's have a look. I saw internship has been removed from diploma. No, internship, I think we're talking about industry practice. Okay, I think that's okay. Industry. No, internship is not being removed. It's actually it's not being removed.
Optional.
It's optional. For diploma level, it's optional for industry practice.
Yes, it is not compulsory for diploma level, but it is optional. If we want to offer practical training for diploma, it is best to have 6 credit, if I'm not mistaken.
Minimum is 6 credit for diploma if you want to initiate any latihan industry ataupun the placement for the industry. So that is a minimum if you decided to place it in to be more on the practical side.
Okay.
So any questions, please do put it in the chat box itself. Okay, I can see let's go up to the Miss Evelyn. The revised entry requirement for master applies to postgraduate, cert and diploma. May I know if the revised entry requirement for master applies to postgraduate certification? Postgraduate, certificate and diploma. There's 2 different levels there.
Yeah.
Okay, if specified towards the revised entry requirement, yes, certainly this is a needed facilitation that must be done towards when this is being implied within 1 year.
1 year, yeah.
Within 1 year, or any recent update from the MQA itself. So once that this is being ascertained and determined, certainly that this is a must to follow suit towards a minimum entry requirement for the said student. With the reduction in overlap between Creative Multimedia Technology and Art and Design, would design programs typically comply to either one? Previously, some programs are governed by both PS. Oh yeah, this one is an interesting bit. Can I share?
Okay, yeah, share the
I'll share this one. Okay, let's see. Let's go back to. Okay, hold on a second. I want to accidentally make this blurrish. Yeah. See, let's have a look at the program standard towards it. Nothing too specified, but okay. This was okay. If we look at the how this program standard is being designed.
Okay.
Okay. I think if Dr. Azhar, if I may, please, you can correct me on this part. Okay. In terms on 2 sets of program standards, you can see here that we separated these 2 very specifically. So major 1, major 2. Let's say if that's the case, sometimes you're talking about specialization, major, minor, but the obvious one is on this part for double major. So for double major, if you use, of course, you can see in the initial part, there are numbers of all of these. Let's say, depends on your nomenclatures of your program design. Let's say intermediate, advertising, and cinematic, which is double major. And certainly if it answers into of this within the same program standard, the minimum requirement for major 1 is 66. And then if it's the core within major 2, is minimum requirement is 40. So double major has that because of the similarities of the compulsory common core courses or core courses that is within inside it as well. So certainly that is not a particular thing. Why is it like all these balance? But they have its own sets of balance. So let's say two program standard that is differ, or there is the minimum requirement must be from the program standard itself. We have tons and tons of requirement for program standards. We have program standards from business school, hospitality, and so forth. They have their own sets of minimum requirement for a major. So for this is 66, commonly 66 for this program standard. Of course, when we specify to which program standard, it depends on which one. Let's say packaging or halal per se, it has its own subset of which area of minimum requirement. So it's all that within the same thing. So if you're asking like which program standard do we answer to, it depends on what is the weightage that's being utilized from this program standard. If it's majority from here, then hence is here. If it's from arts and design, and certainly that it needs to answer to arts and design program standard. Of course, you both are in parallel. So yeah.
If I may add,
Okay,
looking
sure.
into this program standard, basically, I think what has been raised by Evelyn, the program standard for bachelor degree for art and design, specifically, the single major require, if I'm not mistaken, 90 credit. Okay, 90 credit compared to the creative multimedia, which only requires 66 for single major. So this is again, like we have argued during our presentation with stakeholder and some of the HEP has raised this issue relating or regarding on the minimum credit that we have made comparison with art and design, which also it is what shall I say, from the stakeholder indicate that and agree. We debate on this whether to put it on 90 because we want to have a specific area on that. But due to the arrangement, due to the debate and argument that we have with the stakeholder of the HEP, we have agreed with the HEP that to have the call for single major, which minimum is 66 only, which also the context of this is to give the options of that of many HEP to distribute the remaining credits that have whether to put it additionally on the core components or whether or not to put it in the compulsory courses. So we hope we answer that component of issues, whether to choose art and design or whether to choose the creative multimedia. So if it is again, because this context of creative multimedia technology compare with art and design, the components of this program and the BOK of this program is much more looking into 3 components rather than what we have in art and design. The components of this creative multimedia and technology, again, that we had emphasized is not just looking into the creativity, but we are looking into the context of across the board, not just the creativity side, but also looking into multimedia and technology. The program can be offered not just from art and design, it can be offered from the creative school, it can even offer from music, it can even offer from performing art, but again, the context of this creative multimedia technology standard is across the board, can be used in any field which you think require that suitable for the program that you want to develop. But it has to have, that's why we can see the components of core being put as a very minimum 66 for bachelor degree, diploma 59. So it gives more options for the HEP to design not just the creativity, but also looking into the media, looking into multimedia, looking into technology emphasis on the developments of the programs. What are the BOK that you want to achieve or that you want to set for your program outcome? I hope I answered the question. Thank you.
I think the next one that we like to move on, referring to the draft, there's a
This not no draft. This is already approved.
This is already finalized. It's no longer a draft. There's a requirement for mocap. This is a compulsory. So I believe this is in the area of, I think, cinematics, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the nomenclature. I'll go on the appendix itself. Animation, cinematics. Okay, one important part that I like to emphasize here is actually the body of knowledge that is in governance of all of this. Let's see if I see this. Okay, the body of knowledge is utmostly important because, like I said, the flexibility is open, but one thing for sure that you got to live up to the name of it. So if mocap per se is not an entire applied, but you by nature that there is some sort of motion capture or theatrical or performance or an appropriate motion-based animation, hence if you don't have the mocap or anything that is in substitute, of course we have tons of ways in terms of motion capturing. This doesn't have to be mocap. Let me remind you, technology move in a very, very fast pace, and also adaptability to a certain conditional thing that it does capture motion at the most optimal way based on the industry requirement. For us to determine immediately, oh, you need to have a mocap, well, it depends. You do a lot of post-production, facial recognition or whatnot. Maybe there is an applied technology within it. If it's not a requirement, let's say you do, certainly I don't see under preconditioned things, but there is some sort of motion capture that needs to be in place. It depends on the technology that is being applied, depends on the body of knowledge that you like to have an adherence to. So it all's being, it's not limited towards that, but certainly the body of knowledge is important to retain. So that's my answer.
Once you set that as your body of knowledge, meaning the student need to understand the principle into how to design or how to operate or even how to use that mocap. So is that required in a certain courses in the program that specify the course learning outcome that also map to the body of knowledge that you plan to have of that particular program. So meaning what are the suitable, that's why we put the resources into like buffets. It's just indications of equipments or resources that you need. But also it all reflect or map to the body of knowledge of the courses or CLO, and it's also mapped to the program that program outcome that you have set. So if it's needed, meaning it's compulsory for that particular courses. Again, this is the examples of the components of the resources needed for specialization area that we have indicate in the program standard.
Correct. I mean, like the body knowledge and also the facilities are open and buffet style because it needs to be achievable. It has to be understood by the students, and the staff or academics are trained towards the teaching of this thing. Okay, the ratio of student lecture only applies to physical or ODL. No, it applies to the subset that is being stated, whether if it's blended, whether if it's remote, physical, 1 to 15, 1 to 30 still applies the same. Because you got to be mindful. Practical courses are simply this. We understood, so similar as well, arts and design. The lecturers lecture, they have to demonstrate, they have to observe the students apply that demonstration. Pretty much it's a workshop lab. And then they have to actually assess the students' work and actually remediate. Imagine that you have a handling, let's say you're teaching a practical course of 80 to 100 students. Can you even complete that 3 hours? I doubt it. It's like any panelist will be doubting that. So certainly that needs to be attained. That ratio remains the same.
I think the issue here regarding on the practical courses that we run or conduct in ODL, we have discussed this. Once it is practical courses, yes, everybody agree as what they know, practical courses is physical. They have to attend the studio, they need to attend the lab, even the some specific workshop as well. But if the technical courses require them to explain due to the ODL, but although we stated there what is 30 for ODL, but if it is require one-to-one discussion, looking into their product design development, then we have to fall back into the area whereby 1 is to 15, because the important thing that why we agree We agree to have 1 to 15. Basically, when you have practical courses, although it is physical, and nowadays we can have tutorial on online, it also doing ODL on that context, it still remain 1 to 15, because you need to look into the development, the design development, the process of each individual student, one-to-one basis. It can't be 30 per class on ODL unless it is just a lecture. That is what the context of the difference between 1 is to 15 and 1 is to 30, where we divided into 1 to 30 is specifically for lecture based, and 1 is to 15 is the lecture, although you do it all ODL, but it has to have 1 to 15. Okay, thank you.
Okay. The next question, will this updated program standard will affect programs nomenclature? Example, Diploma in Creative Multimedia now to Diploma in Creative Multimedia Technology. So means add addendum to the name. I think it's under MQR. What is important is the content inside it. It's not just the naming itself. It's the revamp, the review or revamp that is being practiced by all HEP. The content is more important. Well, actually is similarly important, but the content or the context of your courses or the program must be changed. Not just by name itself is a name, but the progression of it is certainly the importance is the content.
Because if we have a discussion on this, looking into the generic name of the program or the nomenclature of the program as well, some may have it as a very general, like you have it now, what you have mentioned here. Is there any change, for example, Diploma in Creative Multimedia and Diploma in Creative Multimedia Technology? Again, looking into the program outcome or program learning outcome and your program education outcome, if you plan to have the nomenclature of a specific specialization, then this is the standard where it gives you the flexibility of putting the specialization or the single major focus on the area that you have. Again, like we have discussed, there are many, there are basically few options for deciding, looking into the nomenclature, whether you want to have a single major, you can have, secondly, you can have specialization, you can have major minor, you can even have double degree with the percentage as what has required in the program standard. So again, with the nomenclature or the program structure that has been put in the design standard or the design or the program standard for creative technology and multimedia, the range of credit, the minimum range of credit is much more simpler, and it's giving an option for the HEP to design their program on what is the context again and what is the program directions that you want to offer, namely, or basically you can show the difference between what HEP or IPT, between the IPT or A, B, or C. You can have the similar name, but you can have, when looking into your program outcome, it reflect the directions of your program. Okay.
Right. So moving on, next one. These are the nomenclature. Now it is, I think, in the area of form of assessment. Assessment student learning stated candidates are required to pass both continuous and final for every course. Okay, fine. What happened if the student scale final assessment 30%, but manage to obtain 55 from the continuous assessment? Does the student fail the course or pass the course? To be honest, to answer on this, it depends on your rubrics. This is very specific to how you structure your courses and what kind of rubrics of form of assessment that is being done. So we can't answer this entirely until we see in front of our eyes what are the case studies, what are the preconditions, why the students quote unquote fail and so forth. So we can actually go everywhere on that part. So I think the most important part is how you actually assess through the rubrics and also what form of assessment that you decided that to be casted upon that course itself. So for this, pass or fail, it depends on your university examination board on how it's being justified towards the students X, fail or pass. So yeah, so that is in the governance on the HEP side.
If the measurement tool or the rubric instrument looking into the skill set which has this been set for that particular course, CLO, perhaps it could be designed into different set of CLO.
Correct.
If you set the CLO 1 or even the CLO 3, you are looking into the assessment or the instrument, looking how well the student in obtaining the skill set that you need to have. There are many skill sets, not just digital, not just the skills, even the communication as well, but the skill set need to be put into the specific CLO or the rubric of that particular courses. So again, although the percentage of the assessment being divided into two segments or two sections, whether it is applied to assess the student on the performance of, or shall I say, the progress assessment, which requires the set of percentage, and the final assessment is also set by a certain percentage of that particular program. So again, it's all depending on the set of instrument rubric that you have set on that particular courses. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is Mike Chung. Could the remaining credits be placed in the elective category beyond the maximum credit cap of 13 credit on the bachelor? So we're talking about degree level, remaining credits beyond. So if it goes beyond minimum, I don't see any issues there.
Because we only set the minimum. If you want to have more on that particular context or that particular segment or component elective, so again, the remaining, like you have for diploma level 11, the remaining you can put it there, or you can apply or design that particular curriculum that you put it emphasis on the components for elective.
Correct. It can go. It could go into the areas common core or disciplinary core, or even like majority. Some of the observed HEPs that we saw, they really bunk it into the MPU courses. So it depends on how the remaining credit is being utilized, but just as long as it's deliverable in terms of the body of knowledge that's been decided on the PO, PLO, and so forth.
Again, the beauty of this program standard, again, let's say we look at the example that we have for single major. So as the minimum required for the core component is only 66, but if the university or the HEP decide to have that remaining 40 to be offered as elective, by all means,
it can be done.
It can be done.
It can be done, but majority of the time we always see towards the case that the university required courses does have its own rule. X amount.
Some may put it as compulsory. Some the minimum compulsory, again, we have set the minimum of 8. But again, if you take the remaining 8, you would left another 32 credit, which is a lot. They can apply that in elective as well. No problems on that. Or even they want to divide and they have more, they plan to have more time. They want their student to have more time or experience in the industrial training. They can have more than 6 credit for industrial training. So that is the minimum. So again, the beauty when we make comparative with other program standard that we have here, looking into the flexibility of the program, the remaining of the credits that have for that particular level, that gives the options for the HEP to decide where do you want to place this remaining credit, whether to put it at the elective, whether to put it at the industrial training, or to put it, some of it to put it at the compulsory courses for the university. Okay.
I think the next question here, so I got Zarina from Quipsas. Berdasarkan pembentangan draft standard pada Jun yang lalu, I think we have a stakeholder meeting session. Syarat kelayakan masuk lepasan diploma terbuka kepada semua bidang dengan syarat perlu kepada penyediaan portfolio. Portfolio preparation, memberi lebih ruangan kepada pelajar luar bidang yang ingin mempelajari bidang multimedia kreatif. Dalam pembentangan sebentar tadi, kelayakan diploma dalam bidang yang bersesuaian. Maksudnya syarat lepasan masih dikekalkan seperti dalam first edition. So let's see in terms on the students' requirement. 13, number 13, yeah. No, that's academic stuff, sorry. Okay, so we're talking about diploma entry requirement. Of course, we have SPM 3 credit minimum, SKM. So SKM is level 3 from STAR Makbul to STAR Makbul STPM grade C. Certificate from there is a certificate level with CGPA 2.0 and above. So now it's conditional of interview or portfolio submission. Ada dua. It can be either or combine both pun boleh, but it must be done either one of this. But even if you do a portfolio submission, you have to study through what kind of measurements instrument that you use for the portfolio submission. It's just not simply just, okay, they send something you endorse. No, you do need some sort of assessment that occurs onto it. So we're talking about design review. There is being verified that the students have the appropriate level of body of knowledge that the person attained during the certificate level. So you do need that as well, or even during the said interview that you have recorded now. It's like literally you can record any given interview, so that some engagement has been done up towards on how you can actually engage with the students, so that the student towards the appropriate level to join into your program. So it depends on which one. It can be either or both. So it's the minimum requirements, just one of these two. So that is the attainment. No, this is under Q&A that we see from Mike Chong over here. Okay, I think okay.
Kita buka ini.
Okay, so we move on to the Q&A.
I would like to add in what Zarina daripada
Azwar answer this. So there are questionnaires that some of it Azwar dah jawab. Right. So that's part of it.
We still open up for any question or require question and answer, tapi nak jawab balik pada apa yang Puan Zarina.
Dr. Azhar,
Yes.
sorry saya tak perasan yang SH Pak Izzah tanya tu Dr. Azhar dah jawab ke?
Izzah dah. Yang mana yang baru ni bawah ni?
Yang will this update program standard will affect program name, for example Diploma in Creative Multimedia to Diploma in Creative Multimedia Technology.
Yes, kami dah jawab tadi.
Kami dah jawab.
Tapi dalam konteks tadi daripada Kutsas, Puan Zarina tadi ada mention, yang membezakan yang kita bagi option flexibility dekat sini dalam pemilihan pelajar adalah kalau dulu pelajar ataupun pihak PPT perlu menganjurkan interview session di pusat ataupun tempat-tempat interview di mana pihak PPT perlu ada dan pelajar itu perlu hadir. Tapi dalam konteks new standard yang baru ini, kita beri ruang kepada pihak PPT ataupun HGP, seperti mana Dr. Azul mention tadi, how do you want to conduct that interview, sama ada online, virtual, conventional meeting dan sebagainya, boleh, tak ada masalah. Daripada bidang yang lain pun tidak ada masalah. Sebab sekarang ni standard baru memberi ruang kepada pelajar dari bidang-bidang yang lain. Contohnya dia berminat untuk daripada IT nak buat bidang kreatif multimedia, tak ada masalah, boleh. So the interest of putting this into context whereby the portfolio submission pun boleh, tak ada masalah. Pelajar tu nak buat cara mana portfolio, the design of portfolio submission has to decide by the PPT. You nak format dia macam mana, whether you want to apply the process ke, pelajar tu nak tunjukkan proses, the making macam mana dia buat artwork dan sebagainya of their interest. Even there are students from diploma level have achieved looking into the experiments of their 3D printer and they want to continue 3D printer product that they have that he or she have produced. Now they want to continue their study to bachelor level or even master's program, different field daripada bidang lain, tapi nak buat dalam kreatif multimedia, tidak ada masalah. So the option, the PPT, HGP decide on your assessment instrument, on their portfolio, macam mana you nak assess, and the set that you want to assess, then what are the set that can be accepted by the HGP to accept this student. Itu saja, tidak ada masalah.
Yes, please. To add in as well, it doesn't have to be synchronous interview, it can be asynchronous. Macam audition, some of them prepare the video early on to answer some of the questions being laid out. Here's the questions, you can answer it and we will assess it later. So in short, it doesn't have to be an interview by traditional definition, it can be asynchronous. So it can actually, it's pretty much, there is a beauty in terms of actually having these sets of possibilities on how you want to approach how you want to, or your potential students or candidates that to join into your program. So it's certainly the boundaries as being actually not to say blur, but it's actually is open up towards on how you want to assess the entry of your said student.
Most importantly is you record.
Correct.
We want to have
the document needs to be there. Yang tu je penting.
Nanti bila ada penilaian untuk pematuhan,
dengan mulut tak cukup.
so bila dia nak nilai,
yes,
pandai-pandai datang nak menilai, dia kata where is the proof that what is the rubric that you have
Correct.
set on the interview for those are not from the relevant field, what are the requirements that you set, you boleh tunjuklah, tidak ada masalah.
Correct.
If there is any new form of interview processes that you want to have, by all means propose to MQA. Mungkin panel-panel boleh melihat dan berbincang sama ada boleh diterima ataupun tidak. Because we want to have a new form of ways to apply during this process of interview. So pelajar-pelajar ataupun calon-calon.
Tak, kalau kita buat perubahan kurikulum, kita persen kan.
Azwa, anything? Okay,
sorry. Ada.
Okay. Boleh kami tahu bila I think some of the portion being answered. Okay, this is a new one. We allowed to offer a single major, but at the same time offering different options, selection or track student to choose, but the name of the degree remain. Certainly, I'm not sure how to answer this one because it is a gray area here. Okay. You offer a single major, but offering different option selection of track for students to choose. Are you talking about specialization? Be mindful. You can't play around like that to have like, okay, here's a degree, but here are different tracks. You're talking about specialization, or is it major minor?
Okay,
So
I got
please,
it. I think, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, kita ada dialogue, no problem. Kita dialogue.
Alright. Okay.
Not saying that I'm right. Okay. Or not saying that I'm not sure. Okay. The issue here, depending on the question here.
Yes.
When you say this is where you have a model of your curriculum set, basically it is set by modular system. This is where it is very famous in UK. Whereby you have set A, B, C, and D, the 4 track in different specialization.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. But what I understand from the question here, the set of different different option, or what shall I say? Different option selections by program and specialization, meaning they are sharing the program core, the same subject.
So we're talking about undergraduate bachelor's degree.
Yes. Or even masters. Even masters.
Usually masters, I do see this.
Yeah.
Masters, I do see this. Depends on the track, but undergraduate had to be mindful.
Yeah.
But
the undergraduate, it's all depending on the specialization nomenclature that you have. If you have the A, B, C, and D, the 4 track of different specialization, meaning you are applying for 4 license, if I'm not mistaken, from MQA procedure lah. So meaning the option being given to the student, the common core that we share by the university, the minimum that we have set is just there. But the compulsory courses or the core components of that specialization, meaning you have set A and so on. So of this set, again, the student, the design of that particular curriculum, again, it is very fluid and very flexible. We would like to see looking into how the implementations of that program. We look forward and to see how do you apply that core into a different specializations of program and specific credit that should be applied and abide by that credit or minimum credit by this standard especially. We have no issue. I think we have no issue. We look forward to look into the program.
How is being mapped first?
Yes.
How is being mapped first? Because we can't say yes or no.
Yeah.
It depends on how it's been mapped as well. For me, it's like it sounds like specialization to me.
Yeah.
I mean, like how Dr. Azhar mentioned modular. Yeah, that's a possibility as well. I'm not denying that. But for me, it's simply just kurungan specialization.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a clear cut on that part, so that the student knows before they enter the program, not masuk program, what is that kurungan.
Yeah.
So it's like question mark there, tak boleh lah. So
but the emphasis on the specialization dalam kurungan, that is your specialization. That is under degree level.
Yes.
But again, on your context, the context that Dr. Azril mentioned, how does that apply to the master's level? Again, in Malaysia, generally, they only use the common name. If it is art and design, they have masters in art and design. Even in creative multimedia, they just a common name.
I mean, like disciplinary track on postgraduate level is open up because the body of knowledge is pretty much greater scope of experimentation. We can't actually sengkang it, but certainly that it depends on which program Stanley answers to. But undergraduate is a high technical skill level sort of structure, so the student needs to understand the expectation that is arriving. I think all levels do that.
But the modular system or the concept of this modular concept, where you divide or you specialize the program area or by module, that we have discussed at the bachelor level, that it can be done. But under the context of master level, again, it is best applied on both, whether it is mixed mode or whether it's coursework.
True.
Yeah. So if it's a modular that been set on that context of specialization, I think it is best practice on what area that you have. For example, if you have masters in visual comm, another bracket on what specialization, perhaps advertising, immersive design, packaging design, illustration, and so on. So again, the modular concept framework on the master's program, I think it's best to apply in our country. Although it has been practiced in UK and Australia, we do have seen a few samples on that modular program that the program that can be designed. I think we look forward to look into how the best practice, the HEP of what we have in Malaysia, to apply this modular system for their both undergrad and for especially the best practice is for master's degree by coursework and mixed mode.
Yeah, I mean, like we encourage a spirit of I think no two programs are alike. I think that's the whole gist of it. I mean, like animation from X in the academy is not the same as the other institute. So certainly it's like that's the spirit of it. So that's where actually it's an important encouragement in terms on how it's being mapped out. We need to have a look at it first in terms on how it's being structured and so forth. So the familiarity, it depends on how it's being charted out. Okay. So moving along to the next question. Faiza. Okay, initially our FYP, oh sorry, Faiza. Another question, our FYPs were implemented in group of 4 students to GMI policy. Okay. During the accreditation, we were instructed to change to individual FYP. This is for our diploma program. Is it not allowed FYP to be implemented in group? That means FYP are shared project. Is it? Is this how it means on this question?
Yeah, the way we look at it, it is shared project.
Oh, okay.
Because they will form the project for final year project in a group. So meaning it is shared project.
Okay. Now commonly FYPs needs to be individual because you need to assess the students' individual attainment for the CLO. You got to have a rubrics because in group there is a blurrish line of responsibility. If the students, let's say in group of 4, one falls short, how do you actually recognize that shortcoming and attend to it, and still the student pass as a group? So I think by logic of means on the form of assessment, FYP, final year project is individual driven. So commonly the briefing is clear cut, I think, right across on how students' attainment are to be assessed. So this is a common thing that is in a form of measurement. Well, of course, the aptitude of the students towards the said briefing is all being measured as such. I think this is from the diploma level and degree level, especially on degree level, that of course you have group project, but certainly FYPs are individually driven.
But so maybe there are 1 or 2 tasks that join.
Okay,
that assessment, although it's a group, only specific on that particular achievement of that CLO.
I mean, if it's to measure interpersonal skill, yes, presentation or group work, certainly a part of it, but in portion, but you have to assess it individually. If it's in the rubrics, there is an interpersonal skill, there's need to be attained, maknanya person had to talk to some some other stakeholders that needs to be to look into.
I just got this idea. Looking into this context, for example, if let's say in this program standard, we have a program where the student need to develop a game. Shall I say, bachelor in game design?
Oh, it's not a one-man show.
One-man, okay, but it reflects with or minor or major with event management from other faculties, business management or event management from other faculties. So meaning the management of an event require a group. Again, back to the assessment rubric, the set of rubric that require a group assessment should map into not for all, but only a certain portion of it.
Yes, correct. I do agree. I mean, interpersonal skill, also as a team player, there's a certain role and responsibility. So it depends on such design. I mean, FYP is not isolated in silo, duduk seorang-seorang aja, tak boleh. I do agree. I mean, depends on what. Let's see the briefing.
Yes.
Let's see the briefing and what is the CLO against the PLO, where it's being mapped out. That's where you have the what is it, the white table, the white table to check. Kata, okay, this assignment goes in the CLO and the PLO and so forth, so that kalau lepas on that part, okay, they've done their job and their responsibility for that sake.
Because the relevancy in terms of looking into the program standard can be applied in many forms. For example, not just the creative side developing the game, but also, for example, that we have mentioned just now, diploma, a bachelor in game design with what specialization, whether it's management, whether it is gamification and so on, it can be blend, no problem. Okay. But again, I do agree with Dr. Azril, looking into the set of instruments that require that specific CLO to be assessed.
Quite true. I mean, generally, because you said now is already like really open up, so we need to see very specific case to observe, because the answer of today is certainly cannot be for applied to everyone else for tomorrow. What is being said here is a guideline that must be adhered to at a very minimum requirement. So, okay, moving along. Are we allowed to this one after Faiza? Are we allowed to offer single major? Oh wait, already answered that. Sorry. The next one, is there any specific requirement on calculation for credit to follow? If the work WBF track to be applied for a degree program, is there any specific requirement on calculation for credit to follow? Core module. So I think we're talking about a common core and disciplinary core now, isn't it? 66 credit for bachelor's degree. Specific requirement on calculation. Are we talking about credits per course? We have to share balik. I'll share back the screen. Okay. Now let's see daripada segi.
Oh yes.
Okay. Calculation for credit to follow, especially the core. Okay, we're talking about common core, disciplinary core, not the compulsory courses, I suppose. 66 credit for degree.
That is for total.
In total, because you can mix and match. I mean, disciplinary core can be heavier, or even common core can be equal, but it depends on the ratio and portion of percentage
of that course.
Of that course. So we leave it to the HEP to design the specific courses in terms on how is per requirement on the calculation, and also the balance between the PO and also the body of knowledge being applied.
Or is the context of question reflect to the number of credit? How do you want to set a credit for that particular subject?
Okay.
So the arguments that we have before, there are some subjects. Why is it 3? Why is it 2? Why is it 4? Why is it 6? Why is it 8?
SLT, is it?
Yes.
Balance of SLT. Achievements.
So basically, when the credits reflect to the courses that has practical base, it is advisable to have the minimum of 3. But if it is a liberal, it can be minimum as 2 or even 3. It depends on, again, the context of the
student learning time,
or even the BOK or the course learning outcome of that particular courses. If you set the course learning outcome of that particular courses that require 4 credit, meaning the 4 credit is 160 the contact hours. So again, it reflects back on the weekly plan or the context of CLO. Why is it 4? Why is it 6? Or even why is it 8? So again, the designing of that particular courses needed for that particular program, it reflects what is the content and what is the SLT, again, looking into whether it's face-to-face or independent learning by student to fulfill the requirements of that particular subject or to achieve the CLO and the PLO.
Okay. Like in terms of core is being given 66, it can be an intermix between the disciplinary and common core, because we understand as well that some of the HEP have a few programs that have let's say it's like even arts and design has shared a common core with a creative multimedia. So certainly that there are some design actually to take advantage of that, so that they design it like there is a balance towards the common core, so that it is practically economic value. So yeah, I mean it's possible. It's a possibility.
In some cases that we look into the program or the design structures of a design program for this specifically on Creative Multimedia Technology, some may say they would plan to have a very high credit for each courses. But again, when you have high numbers of credit for courses, meaning you have low numbers of offering subject. So some may want to offer 25 courses, some may want to offer 20 courses. Some program would design, they want to offer 30 courses, but a very minimum number of credit. It's all depending on the program outcome of the university and the resources that you have, especially the staff academics.
True. Okay, moving along to the next question. Let's see. Okay, new intake. So if I read this one, okay. Assalamualaikum, Hasif. Okay, is it possible? Oh, kenapa hilang? Or is it being answered too? Okay. Single means yes. Okay. Oh, did it go up or is it being answered? Okay, let's see on this part because I'm trying to make this bigger. Oh no, this one is being answered too. Hasif. Drawing test, they want to register creative animation multimedia. I think okay. New intake student to do entrance. Yes, it is possible as arranged by the HEP. No issue on that part. So is it possible? Yes, if it's being imposed and allowed and actually is being stipulated under the entry requirement, it is.
Yeah.
But like I said before, it's either or interview or portfolio assessment.
We have one college.
So we're talking about drawing requirement upon entry.
Upon entry. It depends on the set of your requirement.
It's aptitude and the skills of the students.
Because we have one institution that shows us example that they pick a student with
poor drawing, and by the
proof.
end, the proof is some of them have an intentional value. They want to see the students say, okay, on entry, here's their drawing, on exit, here's their drawing. So there you go. I mean, like, yes, it depends on how rigor that they want to actually train their potentials.
So some may want it, they don't want to train, they want the skill set that has been in the candidates. There's one institute that show us example, they want to train, they show us the poor drawing. But at the end of the day, they show these are the result after
Correct.
the
undergo
program.
their program.
Yeah.
Yeah, some have that very very concise value of intention, which is fine. Even like they say poor drawing, but still take them in because we want to actually make value of this potentials. So that, yeah, by all means, just as long as they have an intended reason. Okay. Let's see. WBL.
Okay. WBL.
WBL program,
okay.
work-based learning. Can the PLO be interpreted or designed based on achievements or milestones on particular project, assuming certain rules instead of outcome? So we're talking about job description, I suppose.
Okay.
Instead of outcome. As real life experience learning is situational, do we have the flexibility to do so? WBL, are we talking about APEL?
No, work-based learning.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay.
Sounds like macam assessment of APEL pun ada juga ni.
Work-based learning basically divided into two segments. Whether the student, the plan of study will be conducted in the university. In the portion where if you plan to have 2U1I, let's say one is to be done in the industry. Again, to answer this question, the PLO should assess the experience of the student when they do their 1 year at the industry. Or some may have 2U2I, meaning 2 years in the university and 2 years in the industry. Again, that PLO should be assessed based on the milestones of achievement during their term at the industry. The difference between, I think everybody knows that the difference between CLO, PLO, and PEO, where CLO only focuses on the courses and PLO concerning the program. Once the student finish their studies or their enrollment into their program, these are the achievements that we need to attain and assess what are the achievements. Then the PEO reflecting into 3 to 5 years of how our student or alumni have been done at the industry, what are their response, looking into the learning outcomes of what we have said. So I do agree, if the PLO interpreted into the achievement of milestone during their industry linkages or their exercise attachment, it also need to be assessed during that time. Harap saya jawab ni betul ke soalan yang ditanya itu?
I think it is about that. Referring to sample, well, it's a mix. I think there's another question. Refer to this standard possible to implement into U1I. Yes.
Yeah.
Certainly. It's just already answered.
To U1I again, I just want to add. There are 3 tracks, if I'm not mistaken. One can be the 1 year can be done in the university. Second one is to be done in the the industry.
For diploma.
For diploma. And even for degree, if I'm not mistaken. But the other context on the 2U1I or 2U2I, the formations of that particular WBL is to gain to set up a startup for that particular program or track for WBL for the student to choose. Okay.
Make sure that when you have affiliation with a certain specific stakeholders or companies, MOU, MOA, in order towards those kind of documentation.
Again, yang tadi resources tadi, kalau saya boleh share, since Cik Hafiz, apa nama? Hafizam tadi mention, okay. Yang ni, this also reflect to U1I, when the orange part, open the facilitation, facility. Meaning kalau kata kita tak boleh provide, the university cannot provide the facilities, meaning you have to submit your MOA, MOU, LOA to MQA.
To MQA in terms of the arrangement with the industry that
you
to achieve this particular PLO or whatnot, there is an industry attachment or facilitation. Okay, facilitation in which the students or the academics have access towards such training towards the attainment. So this is needed to be appropriated with the MOU, MOA, LOA of the approved facilities. That this is doable, achievable, and maintained as required.
Dulu kita minta kalau boleh universiti sediakan semua resources ini.
Now it's
Open.
integrated. Part and parcel. Some are certain specific. This industry have a specific interest, investment in this X university. Better no, we attach to this because we want to drive a certain graduates that arrive from using our facility go through that program, whatever arrangement. Some are catered and organized in such ways.
So in a way, meaning we are open up for the industry
To be part of the
program. Meaning whether they want to provide facilities which has to provide the evidence of MOU, MOA, then need to submit what are sort of resources that the industry will provide for that particular program and what are the arrangement. Okay,
Right.
Maknanya program standard ini memberi ruang kepada PPT untuk have that arrangement ataupun agreement bersama dengan pihak industri. Okay.
Okay. I think that's pretty much it. Itu je.
Okay, tak ada lagi. I think semua dah jawab ke? Ada semua? Ada kita tinggal ke mana?
I don't know. Hopefully we answer everything. Particular questions.
Okay.
Semua dah jawab ke?
Ada lagi Azwa?
Boleh tolong
Oh, ratio student lecture. Dah 1:50. Although is ODL tapi kena beri ketetapan iaitu 1:15 lah.
So Azwa, ada apa-apa tambahan lagi ke?
Ada lagi anything that we miss?
Yang first tu, Miss Evelyn tu, dah tu. So, tadi I punya connection macam ada problem sikit.
Dah. Miss Evelyn, we already answered to the query. Then assessment student learning dah. In terms of required to pass both continuous and final, itu sudah jawab. On that note, can we share the PowerPoint slide? I think this.
Nanti kita tanya MQA.
Kita tanya MQA because this is the slides here are pretty much.
Okay, boleh.
Kalau okay, boleh kita boleh bagi.
I think upon approval by the MQA, I think I don't have issues per se. It's publicly being shown here. So certainly it's upon MQA's discretion or purview in terms of how the distribution here. But it's pretty much like auto summarized for that. The program standard that we have built up, it's hopefully that is being designed as easily understood on the requirement for this upcoming update for this document.
Yang slide tu maybe kita akan masukkan dalam Google Link.
Okay.
Okay, Google Link tu kita akan masukkan slide tu dalam tu untuk rujukan kepada semua. Dan kita akan letak kepada YouTube lah, YouTube MQA dekat bawah under webinar ni ada link kat bawah tu. Okay.
Alright. Okay. Official by MQA to do so, then certainly it's going to be done. Ada anything else ke? Rasa dah tak ada dah kan? Wah. I think kita dah answer almost all the question here.
Okay.
So
Okey, kalau ada apa-apa kita bagi pihak MQA ataupun daripada panel-panel yang terlibat with all the task force, panel-panel penilai task force dalam mengubah standard baru ini, kita harapkan perubahan standard baru ini dapat memberi kemudahan ataupun memudahkan pihak PPT ataupun HGP dalam membangunkan program di mana kita pun mendapat satu feedback yang baik daripada stakeholder and even KPT di mana standard baru daripada Creative Multimedia mempunyai satu niche area yang memberi ruang kepada pihak HGP dalam membangunkan program-program baru khususnya yang berasaskan kepada Creative Technology and Multimedia yang kita berikan cross the board pada semua, bukan kepada creative side saja. Sebab itu ruang ini dan saya ucapkan jutaan juga terima kasih kepada panel penilai yang hadir, stakeholder yang hadir, HGP, pensyarah-pensyarah yang hadir mengutarakan soalan-soalan bagi pembaikan ataupun penjelasan ataupun pencerahan dalam memahami ataupun standard baru ini kepada pihak PGP dan semua. Bagi pihak saya ucapkan jutaan terima kasih, dan juga kepada MQA juga kami ucapkan jutaan terima kasih. Dan saya serahkan kepada Dr. Azrin, if you have any words from you. Thank you.
I think you had spoken
No.
on behalf of everyone. But thank you so much. Terima kasih banyak-banyak kepada semua, kepada pihak QA juga yang telah berikan ruangan untuk kami membangunkan atau buat pembaharuan dan juga update kepada dokumen yang amat-amat penting ni. Also the idea of this is to have it as, not to say as flexible, but the flexibility exists because there is an opportunity towards improvements and towards the opportunity that will arrive, because now technology is already imbued and in part of our future being. So with that, without further ado, thank you everyone for the given your time and also for your given interest as well towards this development of this said document. Terima kasih kepada pihak QA juga amat-amat banyak kepada also atas panel task force yang terbabit bersama kami for the past 1 year juga. So that is great humble. Thank you. Terima kasih banyak-banyak. Okay, punya itu.
Terima kasih.
That's pretty much it. So this is a
pretty much it.
wonderful session.
Yeah.
It's a good thing too.
Hopefully we
to
could
have
have
this one.
a dialogue one day, one time, or session. Kita ada dialog yang seperti ini dalam tidak kata orang, we need to have good, bukan apa, nak bincangkan the directions.
Betul.
Where will this program standard expand into the program yang baru, yang macam mana kita lihat, mungkin kita pun dah maklumkan, perhaps this standard perlu di-revise every 5 years. Kalau dulu dia last revise is 2012.
Quite a while ago, tapi there is an update a bit later on, but it's a necessary step for this.
So, if there is any form or any channel ataupun any section or dialogue, or we can have discussion looking into the betterment of the program, kita amat-amat mengalukan khususnya daripada pihak MQA and panel-panel task force yang ada, and even panel-panel penilai. And not to forget especially the lecturers yang banyak bagi feedback kepada program standard yang ini, di mana kalau kita lihat it is also giving the kata orang the concern of welfare of the pensyarah actually, lecturers the concern. Sebab itu kita lihat masa yang diberikan bagi setiap kursus itu diberi the focus on that, dititik beratkan kepada jumlah masa yang diberikan pada setiap pelajar. The context of that, kata orang 1:15. Okay, bagi pihak kami again, kami ucapkan jutaan terima kasih. Kami minta maaf jika ada kesilapan, kekurangan daripada kami dan dari pihak MQA juga. Kami ucapkan jutaan terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih semua. Okay, Azwa, over to you.
Okey, terima kasih saya ucapkan kepada pengerusi panel dan timbalan pengerusi panel yang berbesar hati meluangkan masa untuk berkongsi info dan memberi penerangan kepada pihak yang terlibat. Dan kita selesai sudahlah sesi pagi ini, dan saya ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada hadirin yang telah memberi kerjasama sepanjang sesi ini berlangsung. Dan info, dan saya berharap, kami berharap info yang kita perolehi pagi ini dapat dimanfaatkan oleh semualah untuk penambahbaikan kualiti bagi program bidang CMT. Dan sekiranya ada terkasar bahasa, saya mohon maaf. Dan sepanjang sesi webinar ni lah, dan saya ingin mengucapkan terima kasih dan Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera.